Hello everyone, it is time for this week's live stream. I'm a few minutes late because I was rearranging things, and I'm hoping that we have a good signal because I didn't connect to my Ethernet cable like I usually do. So let's see how this sounds. I have background noise, I apologize. That is why I work in the office when I do my live streams instead of in front of the tank. I want to thank Rogers Reef Food for being a sponsor of this channel. I also want to thank all of you that are subscribers to Coral Magazine. This is the issue that will be showing up in mailboxes at the end of this month or the first week of next month. If you're not a subscriber, it's never too late. I offer consultation services if you need some help. I'm happy to work with you one-on-one on video where you can show me your tank, we can discuss things, I might spot something that's wrong, and help your tank be even better than it is right now. So here I am completely rearranged in this room today just because I was like, so I have this idea. Problem is the microphone is right here. And every time I walk away, you're not going to hear anything. But at the same time, maybe some of what I discussed today doesn't need to be heard. I say discuss, I mean show you. So the anemone cube is behind me over here on the floor. It's been sitting on that floor for, I don't know, 2+ years. And the stand that tank is going on is in my studio outside, waiting for me to finish up some woodwork. Well, I am at the point in my life where I can actually work on that and get this tank operational. So I kind of thought, let's just give you an update of what's going on. So behind me, you can see the reef tank, still alive, still exists. Not great, but I've got some frags coming in next week from Dwayne, and so I'm going to have somewhere to put them. So I actually have a lot to do in the next few days. I really have to tackle the essentially empty tank behind the reef to make space for corals I'm going to pull out. And then I will use those new frag racks from from Avid Aqua. That's the wrong name. Avid Aqua. I'll put that in the back of the reef and put those frags there where they're in good water, good light, and hopefully they will be content until I can get them planted onto the rock work. But so what I thought would be kind of fun is, like I said, I'm not going to have the microphone near me, so I'm not going to pantomime. I'll try to talk louder. Maybe the microphone, I don't even know how I sound. How does it sound? Feel free to put in the comments if you're hearing all that running water behind me or not. We'll just find out the hard way. But I was thinking I will go over there and start taking things out of that tank that I've been shoving in it and just see what we discover. Who knows what we'll find? Maybe something embarrassing. I don't even know. When I was in my other room, which is a guest room that is just filled with fish crap that I have amassed and accumulated, along with family albums and things like that, I was finding things I didn't even remember having. Like, for example, I found a salinity tester from a brand I've never used, still in the package. I was like, whoa, when did I get this? Where did I get this? How much did I pay for this? But anyway, I've got it. So, no one said anything about the microphone being bad. I'm hoping that it's decent. But who knows? It might pick up a lot of ambient noise. It might even pick up the sound from the air conditioner hitting me. That's something I can't control. So that's why, like I said before, that's why I've been in the studio where I can control everything. I have good lighting, and it's just so much more convenient to do the show from there. But I thought, today we'll just do a treasure hunt through the 60-gallon cube. So ignore my house mess because this was a spur-of-the-moment decision on my part. I can move this. No, I cannot. That microphone will not get any closer. It is literally that long. It would be cool if I had a longer wire. I definitely don't have an extension for that. Nope. Gonna have to just work with me walking back and forth. So I've got the cute little Peacemaker. My replacement Nero 5 pump is installed in Caitlin's reef. This is the sole that the box that it came in. Hasn't been hooked up yet, as I told you guys last week. Here is the sole, which is ready when I have something to affix it to. My box for the Trident NP, which I haven't needed, but I saved anyway. I picked up some new screens recently. These are the screens that go in the algae turf scrubber. And what I'm planning to do is cut out a new one. And Jason made the suggestion to me that I go ahead and cut a strip of the old one and affix it to the new one to seat it. and then hang that in the scrubber and see if that helps populate it more rapidly. He also told me something I didn't even think about, and I'm glad he mentioned it. He says I should rough up the material so it's more coarse and not so slickery. So I will have to figure out how I'm going to do that. Here is my Apogee PAR meter. This is my old light assembly. So this is the Radeon Gen 4 with a couple of XHOs that I took down from the ceiling. I will not be using this light on the new tank. It's definitely seen many years of service, and it kind of feels that sticky, tacky feeling that is never pleasant. Hey, Jack. I've got a couple of AI blades here that I could install in the new tank, depending on how things go. And I believe I have the brackets to hold them on. You want to go outside, Jack? All right. Here's my older Versa pump that I felt like wasn't working correctly. Two little fishies algae feeder pouch that you can put food inside. This is a brand new MP40 that's going to go on the new Anemone Cube. Here's a PMK. This is a way to measure PAR and lets me know what's going on in the tank, and I can hook it up to the Apex. Got this many years ago, have never used it, so it might come in handy at some point in my near future. This is a one-link cable that has been used, kept it just in case. The one-link cable for me is usually to connect the Trident to my Apex system. And when I got a new one, it came with a new cable, but I saved the old one just in case something went wrong. A piece of acrylic that no one cares about. I'm going to show it to you anyway. It says redo, and get the measurement right this time. Let me see what the comments say so far. So the microphone's okay? Okay, glad to hear it. I have a couple of Coca-Cola bottles. You're probably thinking, why would you throw those in your 60-gallon cube? These are for when I set up my brine shrimp hatching stations. I need these bottles. Here are more pouches for the feeder that goes with two little fishies. We're getting into the tank now. It's getting exciting. So this right here is extra tubing for my Trident, the sample line and the waistline and caps. And the reason I save dumb things like this is because sometimes you have to send something back for repairs. And if there's a problem with the tubing, for example, let's say the new tubing I get is kinked, but my old tubing is not, I can use the old tubing and keep going. Or if I want to seal up the bottles of reagents, I have some lids saved just in case. Because the way they work, you take the cap off and you install it, you're never going to use the lid again, you throw it away. But keeping just a few on hand helps save reagent after it's been opened, but you can't save it forever. After the reagent's been exposed to air, it starts to decline already. Over time, it just gets worse and worse. If the bottle's 3/4 empty, throwing a cap on it doesn't really do me a great service, but it still allows me to save some liquid during the transition between units. I got this at Interzoo. Never opened it. Still new in the plastic. This is a Waterbox magnetic glass cleaner, and it's designed for 3/4 inch glass. And I picked this up at Interzoo last year. Did I say that already? So it says it's up to 3/4 inch glass, which my tank is. So that could come in handy. I could try it out on my tank. Nice. I know. I'm packing stuff. Here's my squid hat. You think it's a toy, huh? It's my squid hat. Hi. Let me get you a treat. Hang on, guys. I need to give her a treat. Don't eat that. Leave it. Oh, sorry. Enjoy. Here is some sponge material I probably don't need, but you never know, and I thought I should save it. And this is some of that stuff you can use in your tank to absorb metal. And I ran into a situation where my tank had too much tungsten in it, and this stuff is reusable. So you put this in a spot of high flow, like between the baffles, and you let it absorb, and then you can take it out, and I think you let it dry out. The instructions are on the back of the package, and it can be used repeatedly to help get metals out of the water column. Here is the mounting kit for those blade lights, which I could then affix to the next Radeon I use. Okay, it's just a box of treasure, guys. It's just going to be one junky thing after another, but you get to experience it with me. So this is just bubble wrap for packing orders. I hate wasting it. Anything comes with a shipment might end up in your shipment. Jack, stop making noise with your collar. Here's some screen. Here's a graduated cylinder for calibration of dosing pumps. Here are some additional levers that I can use when I'm working on my calcium reactor or on a different reactor. I can replace those thumb screws with this kit. It comes with these stainless steel screws and these little levers. Jack is so confused I'm out here for once. Apparently a Synchro Nano that I used. Another 1-link cable because I told you I like a backup. So now I have a backup for my backup. Here's an invoice from Benepets for getting some Benereef for my shop. Here are some parts for that Sicce power head. Here's the instruction manual for my UV that I put on Caitlin's reef. Jackie, be nice. Here was the tube the UV bulb came in. Here is the insert that the UV bulb came in. I don't need any of this. This can all be a toy for Jack. You can destroy it. Get it. Kill it. Get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it. Go chew it up. Enjoy. Alright, so that's nothing. Give me that too. Give me that too. Give me that too. Give me that too. Here, alright. Go get it. Go get it. Chew it up. Chew it up. Or take it outside and chew it up. There you go. Go have fun. Alright, what else we got? So this was the box for the Mobius expansion module, the MXM, I think it's called? Yeah, MXM. And that's already installed in my system, so this is just the package it came in, just sitting in my tank, because I always save empty boxes. And this is some kind of a TENS device that I probably had 20 years. I don't know how it ended up in that aquarium. I don't even think everything's in here. Oh, yeah. Actually, if I wanted to use it, I could. Ever heard of a TENS device? I used it to help make my neck feel better. You put these sticky pads on you and you hook it up to that thing and it just pulses electricity through your muscles. Anyway, must have been in my closet. Somehow it ended up in the kitchen. All this bubble wrap is for if I have to ship an order, because I don't throw it away. Another 1-link cable. Anyone needs a 1-link cable, I've got you covered. Here's a brand new Radeon for the new tank. This is a Gen 6. It's freaking heavy, man. This is the XR30 Pro. Yeah, Gen 6. And super heavy. Way heavier than I would expect. I don't know why. So lighting for the new tank is taken care of. I don't know what any of the stuff is besides someone shoving it in that tank. Some kind of a bag for wild bird food. Another kind of bag might have been Caitlin's, Sevilla. Some kind of a pouch that maybe you could pack a sleeping bag in or something. Some kind of backpack. A loose bag. Those TENS pads, well, at least they stayed near the unit. I'm throwing all this crap in my living room. A comic from Comic-Con. Another comic from Comic-Con. Ancient paperwork that probably doesn't pertain to my life in 15 years. Oh, it's not even mine. It's for a friend of mine. It's stuff of his that he never came to take. And I never threw it away because I'm a good person. More bubble wrap. This all belongs in the studio, so I can use it. These are things I kept safe from Jack because she would destroy them. So I got this octopus at one of the public aquariums. That'll go in the office behind the live stream area. Got this guy from Plants vs. Zombies. Got a Shamu because, of course, I got a Shamu. Plants vs. Zombies Squash. That squashes the zombies. And the chili pepper. I just love that game. Have you ever played it? It's amazing. I've probably played it and beat it 5 times. A Two Little Fishies little reactor could be useful for running small media on a small aquarium like Caitlin's Reef. This could be a great way to run carbon nicely. This was a charging station that's a piece of crap. I'm going to throw it away. I was thinking it's going to be amazing, and it does not do a good job, so that's trash. This right here was something I made out of acrylic years ago to put between 2 easy chairs so you had a cup holder if you didn't have a table nearby. And why would I get rid of it? This was an example of a viewing box made by another company. It said, here, copy it, make all you want. And I never did. This one here has legs on the bottom, sort of like mine does, so it won't scratch. This right here is Marco Rocks powder. This is what you would use if you're trying to bond your rock together. They actually sell this aragonite stuff. You mix it with super glue, not super glue gel, and it makes a really hard, fast hold really quickly. And another bag of some kind, and a neck brace for when my neck was hurting. A giant pencil from Switzerland that my mother gave me. It came with its own pencil sharpener. And of course a Swiss cow because they're hilarious. And yeah, this actually works. I just haven't been at my desk using it. It was a gift from my mom. I miss her. A little monkey, can't remember. Oh, this I think I gave to my son when he came out of the hospital. He never used it. He never even tore the tag off of it. I kept it in case I want to give it to Jack one day. That's funny. I have a whole bag of like stuffed toys of his from when he was a kid. And I've been taking one out every once in a while and giving it to Jack, like a brand new toy, and Jack goes nuts and destroys it. And then I picked this up, probably at an Aquashella, a little stingray. And this was the plans of my tank. So that was in the bottom of the tank. So that is the condition of the tank right now. On the outside of it, on the side, there is an external overflow box they included. That tank does have Euro bracing around it, or what they call splash guard, to help not have water slosh over the walls when I clean it with a magnet. And so at this point, it's just a matter of cleaning the tank, getting that stand buttoned up and pretty and covered, and then go ahead and rip out the old plumbing that's still in the wall that went to the old tank, drill new holes where the new plumbing is going to go because it's not the same spot, and tie it into the system. The nice thing is this new tank won't need to be cycled, because once it's plumbed in and operational, it will just become part of the ecosystem. It's, the whole system's fully cycled and operational, and the livestock that's going in the tank are in a tank behind. So when I plumb in the brand new tank onto this existing system, what'll happen is there'll be 60 new gallons of water, basically, give or take. So now the 450 gallon system becomes 500 gallons. And then when everything's working, there's no drips, there's no surprises, I can just go ahead and start taking the livestock out of the temporary tank behind the reef, walk them into the kitchen here and put them inside this tank, and then remove the old tank, disconnect it, and I'm back to a 450 gallon system. So that is where we are at with that. Caitlin's reef is lit up over here to my side, and you can kind of see the lemon peel in there. She's semi-shy, actively eats every night, which makes me very happy. I believe she's a zoanthid eater, so the idea of having zoas in that tank has gone out the window. I do have a couple of gorgonians in there, actually 3 gorgonians in there right now. I'm going to drop in a devil's hand leather, because that fish doesn't care about that. And then, in general, I'll just be kind of adding things to that tank to make it a little bit prettier. She hasn't shown any interest in destroying the Recordias, which is great. And I think that's kind of... Someone says here... Let me move everything so I can get to my keyboard and my mouse again, because I have all my toys. I shall put this one right there. Let's see what we got here. And yes, someone just said something that I completely agree with. It says here... Amy says, fish people are all like, we're total hoarders. And then Phil says, it's funny, we hang on to all these things when we need it, and then we can't find it, we buy a new one. See, I am so adamant to not rebuy things that I will keep hunting and hunting until I find it in my house, which does sometimes happen. Crazy Seven Bear says, how did you figure your stand would be able to handle all that weight? Did you by any chance know its hazard factor? I don't know its hazard factor, but I did tell the welder what I was putting on there, and I described the thousands of pounds of weight that was going there. I mean, it's a 400-gallon tank. At minimum 4,000 gallons, 4,000 pounds, probably more. The tank itself was 1,200 pounds empty. And then you add all that water, the sand, the rock, and then me standing on the walkboard or me leaning on the edge of the tank adds another couple of 100 pounds, basically, give or take. And so, yeah, he was told what was going on, and he built the stand out of 1/4-inch steel. It's all welded. It's all a 2-inch square pipe. They're on my website. If you go to milosreef.com and go to my aquariums, you can, or just go into Google and type steel stand Milev's Reef. It'll take you straight to the page. And it'll show you all the details about the stand and how it was designed and how much I love it. This board here is removable. I can just pull it out, go to the back of the tank and install it on the back and stand on it behind the tank to work in the aquarium. And that is something that I haven't been able to do because of the temporary aquarium tank that's behind the reef in my way. So I'm looking forward to getting rid of that thing. And then Jen Coop says, who made that NASA picture behind you? It looks awesome. So this is actually a piece of art from Jason Langer. He does Foursquare Aquatics, the algae turf scrubber company, and he likes to do these on the side, and he does them for people or he gives them as gifts. So the Nassau Tang was a gift from Caitlin, my girlfriend at the time, and she gave it to me as a surprise for Christmas. And then after her death, Jason followed up with a gift from me and gave me the lemon peel because that was Caitlin's favorite fish. And so that way the two fish are together. And I really do love that. So that's why I put a lemon peel in this tank recently, because I wanted her favorite fish in the aquarium that I call Caitlin's Reef. All right. So that's kind of that for there. I don't really have a lot to... I can describe to you the stand. I can't get you out there because it's a... it's in another room, and I can't just like hoist it up and bring it in here. But you guys will be seeing it soon. But it's a birch stand. It currently is, just a cube that has all been glued and screwed together for far too long, probably a year and a half. I don't know. It sat there for like 9 months while I was looking for one piece of wood I couldn't find. And I finally decided, forget it. I can't find what I need. I'll just take plywood and apply edge banding, which is this stuff I bought off Amazon many months ago. And you can just iron it onto the edge, and then you stain it and you seal it, and hopefully it just holds. And hopefully I won't have any surprises since I've had this for a while, but I will be putting this on all the exposed edges and then stain the whole cabinet and get it in here. And once the tank is on the stand, everything can move along quickly. The door situation I haven't figured out yet. I really liked the idea of 2 small doors opening because that is a walkway into the kitchen. I didn't like the idea of one large door opening up, being in the way when you're trying to walk back and forth, or when you're doing something under the tank and in the tank, and so I thought 2 little doors. But now I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll just do a magnetic mount where I just pop the door in, and when I need to remove the door, I just pop it off, set it to the side, do what I got to do underneath. The area under the tank will be a dry area. There won't be any plumbing in there. There won't be any electrical in there. It'll just be a place for me to store like test kits and my smartphone floater. This is something that I've sold for a long time. This is the box that you put your phone in here. And then you would just put this down on the surface of the water, and you can get pictures of your reef from above or video of your reef from above if you like. You can use it to look for Aiptasia. And the nice thing is, because it has these legs on each end, it won't scratch when you put it on the kitchen counter while it's drying, while it's wet. And I remember I had the first one I ever made, it's just a box, and I put it, I showed them how it worked. I had a camera mounted in there. It was a different style, but it was a flat bottom. And I showed it to the person, like, oh, that's really cool, that's really smart, I love it. And I carefully put it on the kitchen counter. And they were kind of looking at it and stuff, and I was like, thinking, no big deal. And as we were talking, I don't know why they did it, but they were just sliding it across the surface of my counter, like just moving it. I don't know why. I don't think they knew why. It was just like, sort of like a cat knocking things off the fireplace, right? It was just pushing along, and I knew it was just scratching the crap out of the lens. And I was like, that is literally what I take pictures through. What are you doing? Stop! So I came up with a new system where I make these legs, which is actually really complicated to make compared to a flat bottom box. Flat bottom box, 4 walls, glue a piece on, done. This guy here, I've got to mount the bottom piece to the end pieces on a special jig, then I glue the front and back on, and then I have to route away this extra to create those legs. And so it's a thing. But having this handy when I'm near my tank is super great, and having it in a place where it's not getting filled with dust is key. So any kind of things I'm going to use for photography will go in that stand under the 60-gallon cube. And I don't know, other things will go there. I'm just going to start I want to start organizing my mess to where I have like anything to do with power heads in one drawer. Anything has to do with scraping in another drawer, because I have so many kinds of scrapers and sponges. Just, if there's something for, I don't know, calibration. It could be calibration solutions. It could be, like I said, this, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Graduated cylinders, things like that. Anything I can just put in that drawer for calibrating something would be really nice. And if I can have all those things tucked away under the tank, I know they're nice and dry and dust-free. I reach in, I grab what I need. Also, all the additives I use, I can put them in, the side of the cabinet, like magnesium pronto, or baked baking soda, soda ash, or Phosban L or Phosphate RX. You know, all these things can go right there, and they'll be easy to access. I'll know where they are every single time. I won't be on a expedition trying to find them. All right, let me let Jack back in. She's like, what a mess you've made. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Jack. So that's kind of the status of that. I already bought the stain. I mean, it's literally just been a matter of time. So Coral Magazine went to print last Tuesday, which means in theory I have a little bit of time off, which allows me to work on other things. And this tank project is the top of my list. Of course, I have things I have to build for my customers, and I keep doing that. If you're wanting to buy something made of acrylic, you go to Mila's Reef, or you go to shop.milasreef.com, and you can pick out what you like, and I'll be happy to build it for you and get it on its way. A lot of the things I build are custom made, but I have a few things that are standard, like the little Peacemaker I was showing you here, and I have a slightly, I have a larger one. It's not slightly. This one here is made for small tanks, and yet it can fit up to 3/8 glass, so it's pretty good. It's wider than 3/8, so don't think it's snug. But you can just hang this on the rimless tank, put your new fish in there, and you put a lid on top, which it comes with, and the fish won't jump out. And that way they can see each other, but they won't fight. And the viewing panel, like if you put this on the front glass of your aquarium, you would see the fish. You wouldn't have all those holes ruining your view. You still have flow coming in from both sides and from the back, so it's going to get the oxygenation it needs, or the flow of, the gas exchange is going to be okay. It's not going to be too bad. But the whole point of this box is to put something in your tank for only 3 days and then let it loose. And by then, hopefully, there won't be any kind of aggressive tendencies between the new fish and the old fish, because they've seen each other and they realize there's nothing to worry about. So I make this one. This is a small one. This is one Caitlin came up with. She says, I want a little one. So I made this little guy. And the standard one is 12 inches long by 6 inches wide by 8 inches tall. And then I make another kind that spans the tank and sits on the Euro bracing, so it just floats, basically. I mean, it's mounted, and the box is just hovering inside the body of the water. I make skimmer stands, dosing containers, sumps, anything to do with filtration, I tend to make it. Sometimes people ask me for things I don't make, and I just say I don't make it. I don't try to go invent other people's things. I've basically designed things that I would use myself, or that I have used myself, and I made them commercially available. I also sell a lot of aquarium supplies and test kits and additives and cleaning magnets, and I do sell some Ecotech gear, some Neptune gear, some Hydros gear. If there's something you're looking for, let me know. I sell the Nios skimmers. I mean, these are just some of the things I sell, and you can see all that stuff on the shop. And so the stand has been sitting out there. It's been a good place to just put things down, like my cup of coffee. But I'm actually looking forward to getting it out of the studio and into the house, because it will fix this and create an empty space out in the studio area where I can put my chair. Because right now that cabinet is 2 foot by 2 foot. It's taking up some space. PK Video Channel says, what is the best calcium reactor media? I'll put that on the screen for you. And the media that I love is called Reborn. And it was so funny because Reborn was fantastic. And then it kind of went away for a while. And some of my closer friends were saying, Julian Sprung runs Two Little Fishies. And we said he's like a drug dealer. He put out this stuff that we really like, and then he takes it away, and we're all itching and begging for, how can we get another fix? Because the media dissolves very nicely. It's got really big nuggets of rock, and it dissolves gradually over time, where in the past I used Caribsea's ARM, which is a Aragonite media reactor. And so ARM media is what you used, and it looked like crushed coral, basically. And it would dissolve quietly over time and become alkaline calcium for your tank in the reactor. But I found that Reborn worked much better for me and didn't turn to sludge as quickly. So dialing in a calcium reactor is already difficult enough. Using the right media for it is ideal. I sell the 4 kilogram bags because there's no reason to get a smaller amount. And so if you're looking for that, I sell Reborn Large is what it's called. They also have a version called Reborn Little, which is smaller grade. Very rarely do people ask for that, and so I have to special order that in. But it is the media that I use. I also use it in the foundation of my refugium. Instead of sand, I put the Reborn media. And Jason Langer's beautiful tank was in Coral Magazine as a aquarium portrait, and his whole aquarium was filled with reborn media instead of substrate as well. Now, of course, if you were to use this media as a substrate in your aquarium, that will dictate what livestock you can and cannot get. You can't get fish that sleep in the sand and put them in a tank that's got aragonite media as a bed. It's just it's a terrible, it's impossible. So you would say, I can't get these wrasses because I want this media. But the benefit of the media is you can kind of shove it over, you can vacuum off the detritus at the bottom and shove it back into position. And so I do like it in a refugium, for example. It's a great place. And one of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time and haven't done is I want to create a bracket that I would put around these teeth. And so it'd be an L-shaped bracket that I would hang on there temporarily that would allow me to put one or probably two filter socks. One's probably sufficient. So the water would pour through the teeth and into this hang-on bracket, and the water would flow into the bracket, which let's just pretend this is the bracket, with a sock hanging down the bottom, and so the water would pool through the sock. So I could really do a deep clean in the refugium, and all the detritus that kicks up would be caught in the sock instead of going back into the return pump and back up in the display and back on the substrate and back down in the skimmer section. So it's one of those things it's been on my wish list of something I'd like to make one day. I'm sure it's not crazy hard to do, but I do have to build it, and I have to then try it out, and hopefully it works. And I'm not a big fan of making things more than once. I know some of you guys are big on 3D printing, and you will go through incarnations of things, and you print it again and again and again until you perfect it. And I'm more about, let me design it right the first time, make it once, and be done. And so that holds me back on getting things made because my determination is hindering me. Rather, if I just try to prototype, like, it's close enough, I'll make the next one slightly different and rebuild it again and then rebuild it again. I don't want to spend the extra time doing that. I have enough going on in my life to spend time making multiple prototypes of something. I have the general idea in my head. I just need to measure really, really well and then just build it. And it's just like when I used to work in construction and I built houses. You know, I didn't just try out a closet. I had to follow some plans, make it the way it said, and it had to be right. And, you know, if I did it wrong, my boss says, tear it out, do it again. That's a little different than making prototypes. But, you know, at the same time, I would just try to be as accurate as possible to get it right. Are there any practical differences between Little Reborn and Original Reborn? The Little Reborn is just a smaller grade of media. The larger Reborn is larger grade. I have some here. Actually, this one here is what I would it's not marked that way because for a while there we were getting whatever they could get their hands on. But this one here... Oops. The camera's trying to find me. Sorry, let me put it by my face. Try this again. This is kind of a smaller grade, but it's chunky. But the normal Reborn is probably about 3 times the size of these nuggets. And so this would be what I would consider little. Maybe little's even a little smaller than this on the one that's actually labeled that way. But I remember when I got this in, I was like, why did I get this one? This is not the kind I use. But you use what you can get your hands on, depending on supply chains. Let's see. Reef Theory says, I'd like to get a Melanurus wrasse, but my sand is only 1 inch deep. Can I add more sand so it has somewhere to sleep? Yes, you can. What you want to do, if your tank all the way across is 1 inch, and you're trying to make it 2 or 3 inches, you want to add enough sand each week to raise it up 1/2 inch. You don't do it all at once. And that way, all the life that's in the sand bed, that's in that upper 1/2 inch, will migrate up. And then you put in another 1/2 inch of sand, and it migrates up again. And you create the deeper sand bed without killing off all the bugs. Because if you were to go ahead and just add 2 inches of sand to your tank to make it deeper, suddenly, all the stuff down below will be smothered. It'll just die. And you end up with a lot less bacteria, at least initially. I'm not going to say your tank's going to cycle from it, but you're going to lose some beneficial qualities of your sand bed. So it's better to just sneak in 1/2 inch each week until you get to your desired height for your fish. I do want to mention, and someone maybe is watching can correct me if I'm incorrect, but I think the Melanurus wrasse does not sleep in the sand. I had one, And I could have sworn it slept in the rockwork and made like a bubble around itself every night, and then it would just burst out of the bubble every day to swim around. You'd see this remains of a cocoon. Maybe that was a different wrasse, because I had a couple different ones, but I thought the Melanurus slept in the rockwork. So double check, because if it sleeps in the rockwork, then maybe your sandbed issue isn't even an issue at all. But if you are thinking about any kind of sandbed dwellers, definitely increase that sandbed to a deeper amount. In this next issue that's coming out about the jawfishes, there's a lot of emphasis that was made on the importance of a deep sandbed for those fish. And you know, you hear it, but you're like, oh, well, why does it really matter? Turns out it matters a lot for the health of the fish. And you'll see it in that. I don't want to steal from the magazine, but when you get to that spot, you're like, oh, holy crap, I did not know that. And it'll be an eye-opener. I mean, it was for me. As I studied the pictures, I was like, wow, what a difference. So you're going to see that. It's coming up. It's in the fourth story about breeding Opistignathus rosenblattii. It's so hard to say out loud. It's so easy to read on the page. It's so hard to say out loud. And that fish right there is the blue spotted jawfish. It's a beautiful fish. And having it in an adequate depth of sand is key to keeping that fish alive. And there's some other things too, but that was a very important part of the story. Let's see. Kevin says, I used the Little Reborn to mix in my special grade sand so I could crank up the flow. Yeah, to kind of weigh down the sand bed, to, you know, have some chunkier parts in there. And again, certain fish will use those little bits of rock to create homes like jawfishes. So there is some benefits to having that. In my reef, I don't have a big problem. I have lots of flow, but I don't have a big problem with the sand moving because I chose a larger grade of sand. It's called Tropic Eden, and the brand is Tropic Eden, and the type was called Reef Flakes, which is up to as large as 3 millimeters in size, which is still tiny, but it's not sugar fine. It's a larger grade, and it tends to stay put, and that's why I'm not constantly having to shift my sand, which I can't even get to anyway. I got corals everywhere. It's ridiculous. All right, what else we got here? Larry says the 6-line does cocoons. I think more wrasses do, but I just don't remember if the Melanurus did or didn't. But I did have a Melanurus for a while. I also had a mystery wrasse. Maybe the cocoon belonged to the mystery wrasse, and I'm wrong, and the Melanurus is going in the sand every night. It's one of those things I used to watch my, when I had wrasses. I haven't had one in a while. But when I had them in my smaller tanks, I was really watching them. And then when I went to a bigger tank, I just kind of put them in and feed them and enjoy them swimming around. And I don't pay attention to when they go to sleep. I'm not standing by the tank waiting for that moment. I used to keep the lemon meringue wrasse, which is a yellow wrasse that looks like the banana wrasse, but the stomach area, the abdomen, is white, lemon meringue. And it was such a fascinating little fish, and it swam around in my 29-gallon, and it knew exactly what time it was, which was amazing to me. And it would just, and this is back before I had a controller. I just had a mechanical timer that the light was plugged into, and it had the wheel on there, and you had the little buttons you would switch to turn on or turn off. And as the wheel was advancing in the stand, it's not like the fish can see the timer and say, oh, it's almost bedtime. That wasn't what was happening. The fish would be swimming around all day long, and I would feed it, and it would eat, and it would pick, and it would eat bristleworms or whatever. It just did what fishes do. But then, right as the light's about to turn off, like during the last 20 seconds, it's that tight, the fish would start circling a spot of the sand, just like going in a circle. And then right as the light switched off and you heard the click, the light went dark, the fish just dove straight into the sand and was completely out of sight. And he could do that night after night to the second. It wasn't like it was up at the top, the lights went out. It's like, oh my God, let me get to the sand. That never happened. It was always, it knew. And I always thought, how does it know daylight savings time? Because I change that twice a year. It somehow, I'm not saying it didn't. It probably was confused for a few days or a week or two till it figured out, okay, this is the new time. But how does a fish know time to that degree? And the same thing happens at public aquariums, a different situation, but about timing. I went to the public aquarium in Dallas, the Dallas World Aquarium, and all the fish were circling near the top of the tank. And I was like, what are they doing? And they said, oh, it's almost 1 o'clock. That's when they get fed. And they just know. It's not like they saw someone go by with a bucket of fish. I mean, maybe they see someone up top, possibly from their vantage, and they could see someone's behind the scenes about to do something. But fish tend to know when it's dinner time. And even my fish, I could be working in the office and I run in here like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock, I got to feed the fish. And I come in and they're already waiting. They're already in the area where they're expecting to get food. So fish really do know time. It's pretty neat. Triggerfish says Helicoris wrasses sleep in the sand. Well, thank you. If I said that incorrectly, I apologize. But that's why I said I think, because I wasn't positive. Okay, great. Johnny, thank you for asking this question. He says, hi, Milev. Thank you for doing what you do. I have a 29-gallon mixed reef that is looking great, and everything seems happy. The only issue I have is bubble algae. Do you have any recommendations? Bubble algae, the simplest in a 29-gallon is emerald crabs. And if you can put 2 or 3 in the tank, they should resolve that problem entirely. They really do a great job of picking them. They don't... If you pop the bubbles, you will not make more bubble algae, so don't worry about that. Some people fear that. If you would like to lower the phosphate level in your tank first, before you add the emerald crabs, it will weaken them, and you can kind of knock some of them off the rockwork. But I know you're dealing with a small tank. I had a 29-gallon for 7 years. I know exactly what it's like to work in that tank. So if you were able to remove something from the tank and like knock off some bubble algae in the sink and then put the rock back, that's one way. Or you could go to the top of the tank and scrape things off and put it back underwater again. Or you can reach in and try to pop some off of there with like dental tools if you need. But the emerald crab is really the best choice when it comes to removing Valonia from the tank. If you wanted to go with the chemical route, the stuff that's on the market called Flux RX, if it's used at triple strength, it will make bubble algae go away. It's single strength is hair algae, double strength is bryopsis, and triple strength is Valonia. I've never gone that route, but I know it's possible. But for me, I just do emerald crabs. They're not that expensive, and they're something interesting to look at. I have a very large emerald crab in the 20-gallon water box in my office, and I keep wanting to grab that thing and put it in this tank and see what it does in there. Because this tank has, it's got some bubble algae, not much. That tank used to have a lot more algae than it does now. It's a lot better than it was, but it's still not a spectacular tank by any means. Tony says, I have the same size tank you have on your right, the small one, going through the worst case of diatoms. Well, diatoms are a food source for your bacteria in a young tank, like the early months, month 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you sure they're diatoms and they're not dinoflagellates? Because that tank right there, which is a 27-gallon Aqueon, that one last year in February was dealing with something bad. Something brown on the sand that refused to go away. It would get light during the lighter or kind of dissipate during the dark period and then be full-on brown ugly during the lighting period. And I fought dinoflagellates in that tank for 9 months. It was November when it finally went away. And now it's a nice clean tank again. The sand is pretty. I'm actually happy about it. And, still the tank needs constant cleaning. I did clean the glass on 3 sides with a razor blade a couple days ago to make it look better, but I need to pull out all the pumps and soak them and make them look like brand new plastic again. I'm going to remove the frag rack because there's nothing on there worth of, I had some zoanthids I thought I'd be planting the rockwork, and the angelfish decided they were snacks. So I'm just going to declutter that tank, and I might even make a black partition to kind of hide the corner, the left corner where the airstone is, just so it's a little bit more visually appealing to me. But just something I can affix in there with like a magnet or something. Yeah, if it's a new tank, diatoms are normal. Diatoms are actually beneficial. I know you don't like the look. Since it's a new tank, I would say that you should go ahead and... if you have no corals in there and you only have fish because it's new, you don't need to run the lights right now. You're only fueling algae problems. So I would back off on the lighting significantly, like down to 3 hours a day or something. But the diatoms will become food for the bacteria that you want to populate your system, the sand and the rock. And that will help to... they will be consuming it. It will start to disappear because they are growing in more numbers. They are becoming more bacteria population. It's terrible English. Their bacterial population will increase. Let's see. Triggerfish says, will FluxRx kill the macroalgae in the refugium? It could. That wasn't my experience, but I wasn't using it at triple strength. If you were thinking, oh no, I don't want to risk my macroalgae, you could definitely pull that out, put it in a 5-gallon bucket with some kind of, maybe even an air stone, just so you don't have to worry about it getting clogged up like a power head, and throw a light over it with a timer, and just let that sit there safe while you're treating the system itself. And then after you've done your water change and your algae problem is gone, put the macroalgae back in the refugium again. And then I think I saw something else. Johnny says, do I need to pop the bubbles for the emerald crabs to eat them? No. They have little claws. They can pop them perfectly fine themselves. I'm just saying if you were to pop some people have said that the spores that are released are going to grow more, but they're not spores. Each bubble is a single algae cell, and the center of that cell is salt water. It's liquid. So it's not baby algae inside. And so you don't have to worry about it. If you pop some accidentally, it's okay. If you pop them intentionally, you might be able to grab them with tweezers or forceps and rip them out of the tank. So here are the kind of forceps I would recommend you use. I've had these for probably 15 years. They're not horribly rusty. They're not perfect, but they work great. I rinse them in the sink when I'm done and set them to dry. This is another kind I've used for a long time. They're kind of ruined. I should be able to find a way to clean all this off, but basically I was working with glue and it got all over the part. But I find that the rubbery tip actually makes it harder to grab Valonia and remove it. That's why I would use something that's got the sharper bare metal tips with the nice indentations that they have that are the ability to grip. I'm sure there's a name for that, but I don't know what it's called. And then you can use something like these, which this is a type of bone cutter that's very sharp, and this part curves, which is great for getting in those little nooks and crannies and popping something out and being able to pluck things out. So I would recommend that as well. Hi, Jackie. Amy says, even public aquariums have systems with dinos in them. It makes me always feel better when I see a place like the Georgia Aquarium struggling with some of the same issues that we all do. Yeah, plus they're doing it in 200,000 gallons, not 50 gallons. So it's more of a battle in those big systems. Unreefer, maybe that's UN. United Nations Reefer? I don't know. Says, it will kill macroalgae. Ask me how I know. Yeah, it would. In my case, I used it at double strength. I had a refugium under the tank where I used it, and the macroalgae, which is Caulerpa, did not skip a beat. I didn't lose any. But like I said, I'd never used it at triple strength. But Unreefer says that they lost their macroalgae. The good thing is you can always get more macroalgae from somewhere else. So you have that as a it's available. And spoiler alert, the next issue of Coral Magazine is going to be going into macroalgae tanks. So you have something to look forward to. You're already looking forward to the one you're about to get, and I just dropped a little nugget of information about the next issue that will be out in, I'd say about 10 weeks or so. CJK says, my emerald crabs don't live very long, 3 or 4 months tops. That's kind of strange. They should live a lot longer. The one that I got with the water box was already a year old when I got it. And I've had it for 3, and it's huge. It's enormous. It's actually problematic. I feel like it's eaten things it shouldn't have eaten because it's such a big crab. That's why I thought about putting it in this tank, so it could really go to town on the algae. Jack, you're so confused with this living room. Usually she lays down next to me when I do the show. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hi, baby. I love you. Good girl. All right. Everyone saw you just now. Go lay down. Go do something. Let's see. So yeah, if you're having problems with emerald crabs, maybe there's something going on that you're not doing right, or something is a killer in your tank. Jackie, stop. Let's see. Johnny says it's water change Saturday. I'm glad to hear you say that. It's also water test Saturday. So on my situation, I am planning to change water in that tank. I'm going to change 10 gallons on the 27 gallon. I'm going to change a gallon on the 1 gallon because I like to just basically change it all. I'm going to change 5 or so on the 20 gallon water box. And I might change like 80 or so on the 400 gallon because that tank hasn't had a water change in forever and it needs one. The tank behind me, the reef behind me, has been on autopilot for well over a year, and I just haven't had the time or the energy to work on it with everything else going on. The problem with multiple tank syndrome is you end up neglecting something. And since that tank is mainly fine, it's just not great. It's not been a priority. So I've been dealing with the problem children more than the tank that's on autopilot. But that tank now has grown in significantly. It's got all kinds of issues. Primarily, there's too many anemones in that tank behind me, and they are stinging everything else I care about. And they're taking up valuable real estate where I could plant new corals. And I'm just going to have to remove them in groups. And there's probably 150 that have to come out because they're only about this big. They're small. They're called nanonems. And so if people need nanonems, I am your man. I've got plenty. I can send you a bag full. I've thought about sending them to like ACR Aquaculture or to Tidal Gardens and say, here's a whole bunch of them. Turn them into money. Hey, go sell them. Because these people ship out corals every single day. I'm not a coral seller, shipper. Occasionally I ship out something, but it's pretty rare. Okay, so since I'm standing and we've been here for an hour, I'm just going to go ahead and jump to this because I don't want to stand much longer. Today's water test Saturday. It's really important that you test your water parameters because we want to make sure that the reef is healthy. And by checking alkalinity and calcium and magnesium, nitrate, phosphate, salinity, and of course tracking the temperature of your tank throughout the week will help you maintain stable parameters that will not only have things grow, but they'll thrive. And when you just let things go and you ignore them to the point where the water parameters are bad and salinity is much too high or much too low, alkalinity has dropped out and corals are dying, magnesium hasn't been dosed in months because it's quote-unquote fine. These are the problems where you see something wrong in the tank, and then you go to the tank and you're like, well, why am I losing these corals? Let me do some water tests. And that's a reactive decision instead of a proactive decision. Instead, it's much better to test every single week and see where your numbers are, make the improvements, and then you can go back to your life. You know where things are. You can correct it before the livestock suffers. That's why it's so important that I remind you this week after week after week. Triggerfish says, when is Coral Magazine going to start doing a swimsuit edition like Sports Illustrated? I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I will put it in the suggestion box for everyone to laugh at. Guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you again next weekend. Bye.